Still in pre-production. Once you have all those other things then you create a pre-production schedule. Now this is the schedule of when you need to have things approved. And this is one of the areas where you have to educate your client. You're constantly going back and forth. You have to approve text. You have to approve images. You have to approve video, and so on. Everything that you are, all the content that you're going to be putting into the website, you have to make sure that you have in your pre-production schedule exact dates when it's going to be signed off. Yes, this is good. You can input it. All right. And then, of course, you create a budget. The ideal is after you know all the content that you're going to have in there, then you can create a budget specific to that content that is going to be needed. Often, your client says, I have $2,000 to design this site, and that's it. Then you have to work everything within those $2,000, which is not a tremendous amount of money when it comes to some complex sites. Then you have the actual site design, all right? You have to do what is called a visual map, and I'll bring one in on Wednesday to show you and the old way of doing visual maps, which I still like because you can move things around a little bit more. And the visual map is basically just determining how things are going to link. So these three are linked to the home page. 4 is not right now, okay? But if I do this, now I can get to home, right? It's just a visual of how you get from one page to the other, right? And that is critical. And there are some sites that are 7, 8, 9, 10 layers deep. They have all these sub-pages to them, and that's where you discuss with your client. Do you want to get back to the home page from everywhere? And how do you do that? Do you do it with just a logo? Scroll over, they'll click them back. Do you have your navigation bar on every single page where you have home and about us and testimonies, whatever it might be, or not? That's something that you determine at this stage, at the pre-production stage. And then you do a functional design. You test to make sure everything works, all right? How are you going to get from, let's say, where somebody submits some information, and as soon as they click submit, then you have a page that says, thank you for your submission. What if the people want to go back to the site, to the home page? Often if you buy things, they'll say, continue shopping, okay, or back to previous page, whatever it is. So you will have to consider that functional design. This is also an interactivity. Let's say you're designing a site for a school, and they're putting some games that children can play with math. Okay, so that's a whole nother process. That is multimedia design. Okay, and then you have to make sure that you design that thing within itself so that it works. After they do an answer, how do they go back and forth? If you scroll over this item, what happens then? And there's a lot of things involved with this. Hopefully you're getting appreciation for how complex this can be. Research is done. That can be done as soon as you know from your client the purpose and the objectives. You have to, if you don't know, let's say the industry, let's say you're doing a website for a doctor, an orthopedic doctor, and you don't know the terms. You don't know, what the supraspinatus is. You don't know what the bicep is. Whatever it might be, you have to go research to find out what that is, so that you don't make a mistake in linking. If you have a word that's linked supraspinatus, and then you're linking it to a thigh muscle, then you're in trouble. It's not a good thing. All right. So research is critical. Then you go into production, content acquisition and design. And depending on how complex the design is, of that site is, this can be very, very complex. Shooting images, shooting video, copywriting, all those things involved. Are you recording music? Are you recording video? There's this one program out there where you can have people just walk on, and I'll show you the site now. I don't have it off the top of my head right now, but you have them walk on and walk off. That's a software that you buy. You record your own video on a blue screen. You can have somebody just walking on and walking off, right? As I mentioned, if you're doing a video production, you got to do that whole process. Are you creating a new logo for the company? Then you're doing a graphic design process. You got that whole thing you have to consider, all right? And then there's the actual design of the page, right, or the pages. This is part of it, of course, the site design, but also where the image is going to be. Where's the text going to show up? All right, what size are the headers going to be versus the copy within, after the headers, okay? All that has to be acquired. Then you actually have a person constructing the pages, whether they use Dreamweaver, Front Page, or for example, in my case, I'm using Weebly, okay, which is really point, drag, and click, or point, click, and drag. Once you have all those things together, this is really cutting it pretty short. You have your video production. You've got that, and you've got that in the size, because that's really critical, in the size that you want. You can have 640 by 480, or you can have it smaller, or you can have it take up the whole page, all right? Are you using a YouTube video as opposed to something that you're going to insert there yourself? Then you construct the page, then you have to test everything. Every single thing. You have to test to see if the video works. You have to test to see if your audio is working. Are your links working back and forth? I had to do this recently. I videotaped, some of the trainees, and in Weebly you have an option of different sizes of the video. You can have it, small, medium, large, or extra large, right? So I tested each one of those to see how long it would take to load, for the trainees, right? One by one, you test them all, and of course this takes time, right? Not only that, but you have to understand then if you're doing a video, how are you transcoding that? What's the size of the file? Bigger file, higher quality, longer time to load. Smaller file, lower quality, loads faster, but the image is not going to be as clear, all right? So you have to consider all those things. Of course, you got to test all of your links. So if you've got a home page and you've got 47 pages after that, you got to test every single one of those pages to make sure that you're able to go back to wherever it says that you're going to, that's where it goes. You've got to test all of your interactivity, right? You got to test all your forms. There's one thing that I haven't tested just yet, which I will test soon, to see whether or not somebody buys something, whether they're actually going to be charged, and whether I get the information or not. Right? Before I go ahead and put that out there and say, yeah, go ahead and buy my products, somebody clicks and then I don't get the information, I'm in a heap. So all that stuff has to be checked out before you actually, what's called publish, and you put it on. Once you have tested everything, okay, you've checked everything out, and make sure that it works, and not just on one browser, because you have to check on your other browsers to make sure it's working on those as well. Then you publish it just internally for your client, and your client should review it. If your client comes to you and you give it to them and says, oh, thank you very much, and everything is fine, just go ahead and publish it. One time, stress as strongly as possible, please check everything before we actually put this out on the web. Because if there are some problems, I'll be able to fix it before you actually have your audience checking it out. And if they say, oh, don't worry about it, it's no problem, I said, okay, you are covered because you made sure that you warned them about that. But they need to review it. They need to have somebody checking out every single link, the interactivity as well. Then once they say, yes, we've checked it out, then you go ahead and publish it. And that ends the production phase. All right. Any questions up to this point? All right. Then you have post-production, and maintenance is no small thing. A good webmaster is worth his or her hours and hourly rate. Especially if you're talking about in industries where things change, and that's just about everything. All right. The more complex the website, the more these people are of great value. And a good webmaster is constantly reviewing, constantly updating. And as with any other media, right, a site can get stale relatively quickly. So your webmaster, a good webmaster, will make recommendations. Right, I would recommend that you put this new feature that just came out, or move this over, to this part of the page and that. And they have to. The webmaster has to be able to do that. So they have to know design, obviously. Right, they have to be able to change things at will. All right, and a good webmaster knows web HTML code, knows the CSS, the style, the different styles that are available to them, and so on.